moving speech. I'm going to segue somehow into something a little less moving, but I hope inspiring. When I thought about this tonight, I thought about the time of year it is. I know a number of teachers, many school districts are back in session. My grandson will be going tomorrow. He made a point of telling me today, his first day. And when I was researching this, I found a story by the author of this book, a man named Carl Albrecht. He tells a story about a 5th grade kid who was asked, give us a short essay on what you think human anatomy is. What are we made of? And the kid said, oh, that's easy. There's a brainium, there's a borax, and there's an abdomen. Some of you may have heard this. The brainium is where the brain is, obviously. The borax, well, that's the heart, lungs, and liver. And the abdomen, well, that's where our bowels are. You know, there's 5 of them. A, E, I, O, and U. Well, I thought it would be topical because school is going back, and I tested it on my wife, a friend, and my grandson, and I must say, I got about the same reaction I got from them. They say it is very risky to start a speech with humor, and I can testify to that. What I do want to talk about is something called the 6 dimensions of leadership. The High Performance Leadership Manual, Carl Albrecht, a world-recognized expert in the field, identifies 6 of them. I want to talk tonight about the first 3, and then I want to talk about something called youth leadership. The first dimension that Mr. Albrecht talks about is vision and values. If you're going to embark on an ambitious program, you probably should stop and ask yourself, what do you stand for? What are your ethics? What are your values? When you shake hands, do you keep that commitment? Do you keep your word? Are you trustworthy? Those are all characteristics of good leaders. And he also addresses something called a vision. Whenever I hear a vision, I think of sports. And some of you may have heard also, one of the greatest golfers of all time said that he never took a golf shot without seeing the film of it in his mind a number of times. It's called visualization. I think that is what Mr. Albrecht was addressing when he talked about vision. He also talks about something called direction. That is, you need to have a plan. How do you implement your vision? How do you organize it? What's the structure? Who are the people that are going to help you with it? How would you lead them? Without direction, there's really no way to cross the bridge to make your vision a reality. The third dimension that he talks about is something called persuasion. You need to sell your vision to stakeholders. As we'll see shortly, I have a vision I want to sell to you. I think that in many ways the speech that preceded mine set the stage for it because it's about helping youth. Toastmasters, other than having communication and leadership programs, also goes out in the community and does lots of things. So I want to address that. I was part of a program last year. Saeed spearheaded it. I think, I'm not sure who else is in here who was part of it, but we went to Pasadena for 8 weeks. We're going to do the same thing again this year. The team that I've assembled is a team full of teachers and successful business people. This model works. I know it works because, like I said, I was part of a workshop that Saeed spearheaded and made some acquaintances and found that you can't give enough to those kids that you don't get more back in return. It is a wonderful opportunity. What the program does is it provides each student, in this case there's 20 of them for 8 weeks, 2 hours a week, with a manual, and the manual is relatively structured. It goes through the kind of things we as Toastmasters go through. It talks about vocal variety, gestures, posture, the kinds of things that we do every week. To many people, this is a brand new endeavor. In order to do this, I need a team. Who's on my team? Well, I have 2 people who agreed to review my attempt at this program. They're both teachers. Greg's one of them, and Barbara's the other. When I see the kind of work that you do with youth, I always ask myself, well, what works in these groups? What works is the programs that work are led by people who care. We hear it over and over again. Don't tell me what you know until I know that you care. Those are very rewarding programs. I've been involved in some of them, and I think that you would agree with me that if you can combine the kinds of structure and leadership qualities that we need to be successful in business with well-intentioned, well-planned programs like Toastmasters has provided for us for children, it's a win-win situation. Carl Albrecht is a world-renowned business leader and organizational leader, and he developed this program called Youth Leadership. We basically will just be the coordinators. Our role as leaders of the program is to help these youth, 18, 19, and 20-year-old kids, in this case in Pasadena, become better leaders, become better communicators. So our role isn't to get up there and teach, it's really to just coordinate and hopefully they see us more as participants than as authoritarian type figures. So review, what did Mr. Albrecht talk about? He talks about first to have a vision, have values that support it. Second, he talks about having direction, meaning you need to be able to get across that bridge. How do you make your dream come true? And third, he talks about enlisting other people. In business, it might be selling your idea to launch an IPO to a banker. Or in this case, what I needed to do and did was go out and go in the community and find a community that was open to this kind of program. I want to close by telling you I do care, and the experience I've had with youth, like I said earlier, it's always more rewarding than it is giving. When our kids were little, we were pretty active. My wife and I both worked, but we always found time to participate in the leagues and that kind of thing. I was a coach for Little League. I was a coach for Miss Softball America. My wife was a team mother. In fact, my wife was one of our grandkids' soccer team mother. It is an experience I ask you to consider, and I promise you, you get back way more than you put in. Madam Toastmaster.